let's keep going. This deals with attachment 1.4, CT's Blues. It says rhythm only, rhythm only. So this is so exciting. It's the start of us playing a blues melody with our right hand. But the first thing we're going to do is just play the rhythm, the melodic rhythm, okay? If you look down at this attachment, you'll see that what looks like music, regular script here, doesn't have any note heads. And that's okay. I have written a blues with the rhythm first, melodic rhythm first. And I would challenge you to consider that too. There's a number of talking points that I have here at the bottom of the page. And the very first one says melodic rhythm. And something for you to consider is prior to actually writing a melody with pitches, prior to thinking about pitches, maybe you think about the lifeblood of the rhythm of that melody. That's what I've done here. So if this example resonates with you, I hope that you'll do the same. The second point I want to make is that the inner form of this blues, just like we had done before, where we took those 12 and we stacked them 4, 4, and 4. We had started a journey. We had started a pattern of these 3 4-bar phrases. I want to get a little bit deeper into that. Let's take a peek. Look at the left-hand side of the page and you'll see an A, B. The inner form of this blues, CT's Blues, is such a traditional practice in blues. It is to say one thing for 4 bars, and then in the next 4 bars you say the same thing. This is why it's AA. And then in the last 4 bars, we say something different. So you'll hear that the rhythm of the first 4 bars is exactly the same as the rhythm of the second 4 bars. And the last 4 bars is a different rhythm altogether. So this formula, this way of playing or writing a blues is a very, very traditional way. The third thing I want to mention is syncopation and the elements of syncopation that are in this piece of music. I'll come back to that at the end of this little mini aside. And then the fourth point that I want to make is on articulations. Articulations are these funny shapes that are above or below the note heads that you see there. And there are 3. In the upper left-hand corner, I've put a little key there. The first one is called tenuto. And tenuto, the Italian word, I think it's tenere, I think is the verb, to hold. And it's not holding like we would hold like a fermata, but tenuto is to hold for full value. This is the English translation, is just to hold a note for its full value. Don't cheat it at all, don't separate it, hold it for its full value. That's a long line over or under a note head. The second one is a jazz staccato. Now that's a triangle that looks like this. So it's a combination of an accent, you're looking for that sort of pow, extra emphasis, plus it's short, like a staccato, like a dot. And then lastly is this sideways greater than or less than sign looking thing called an accent. And that is also, there is the accent, it's a punch, but it tends to be long in nature, not short. So this jazz staccato is short in nature, this accent is long in nature. And I've assigned syllables to help us with the articulation. Do, D-O-O, is this tenuto. Do, it's like we say it, it's long. Dot, short, truncated, dot. Is accented, but it's short. That's the jazz staccato. And da is accented, but long. So you'll see those 3 syllables printed there, do, dot, and da. Let's do this sheet. Let's participate and let's actually clap the rhythm and say these syllables as we go, as we use a metronome. And I'll speak a bit about syncopation after we're done. So take your metronome, set it to 108. Here we go. I'm using just the 2-finger clap here. And we're going to say this rhythm together. If you want to listen once, that's totally fine. I'll do it twice and join me on the second time. Totally fine, whatever's comfortable for you. But we want to really learn this melodic rhythm of the CT's blues. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and do dot, do dot, do da, do dot, do dot, do dot, do da, do dot, do dot, do dot, dot, da, do be do dot. Do it with me. Here we go. Do dot, do dot, do da, do dot. That's an A. Here's another A. Do dot, do dot, do da, do dot. Here's the B section, and do dot, do dot, dot, da, do be do dot. So I said B section, I meant the B phrase, but you get the idea. A, B, the top phrase feels and sounds and is the same as the second phrase. The third phrase being different. Let's go back and talk about this final point of syncopation. You probably have heard this word before. And I think a lot of people sort of oversimplify their understanding of syncopation and say, oh, well, gosh, if it's on an upbeat, if it's on an offbeat, that's syncopated. It's possible that that's the case, but let's talk a little bit more about this. I want to share 3 things with you. One is an actual definition from the Harvard Dictionary of Music. This is kind of the highbrow go-to reference point. But I just want to use that as a point of reference. But really share with you that syncopation can exist on kind of a small level, a little micro level. If you look at one rhythm and you see that there's an emphasis on the offbeat, you could say, well, gosh, that's syncopated. But I think the Harvard Dictionary definition is really helpful because it begs a longer look at it, a larger look at it, a macro look, a more global look at things. Meaning, if you have something over here that might be a syncopated rhythm, but you're using that syncopated rhythm time and time and time and time and time again, there's a predictability about it, a normalcy about it. And so one could argue that, well, gosh, maybe it's not all that syncopated, or there may be better examples of syncopation. So let's read the Harvard Dictionary definition. Syncopation is, generally speaking, any deliberate disturbance of the normal pulse of the meter, accent, or rhythm. Meter, accent, and rhythm. That's where I think it's really important to note it's a deliberate disturbance of the normal. What is normal? That's where we experience this sort of macro thing. And so I'll point out to you that this do dot, this one and, happens in the second measure, one and. It happens in the third measure, one and. It happens in the fifth measure, the sixth measure, the seventh measure, the ninth measure. They all begin one and. So to echo back to what I was saying earlier, one could argue that do dot is a syncopated rhythm because it ends on an upbeat. But one could equally argue that in the context of this, because that happens 7 times, that it's not, after a while, it's not all that syncopated. That after a while, that is the norm, that is normal. So I've circled the first 2 as to sort of follow up on that discussion, give example to that discussion. In the third measure, we find do da, do dot. So we find one and, but it's longer, and so it feels different. Do da, do da. That really has even more punch, I think, on the and, emphasizing the and. And the closure of that, do dot, for and, is like an anticipation of the next measure. So I would say that third measure is a highly syncopated measure, even more syncopated than either the first or second. At the bottom of the page, and I'll close with this, I find it interesting that do dot, this one and, happens on 4 and then there's the and of 2, 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and. And then there's a downbeat on measure 11 of a half note. And in and of itself, I find this wonderful because half notes we don't often equate with the word syncopation. But in a sea of offbeats, to actually play or to sound a note on the downbeat and to hold that very sort of congruously for 2 beats, this feels unusual. Isn't that amazing that we can have that contrast? And then that ends with 3 and 4 and. Again, a great example of syncopation because of its anticipation. I'll close with that. I'm sorry that I got down that bunny hole, but I at least wanted to share that with you. There's more to come. Okay, so here's where we use that melodic rhythm to our advantage. We have that in our ear, we have that rhythm in our ear, and now we're simply adding pitches to it. So if you look at the second page of attachment 1.4, it says CT's Blues, Melody and Chords. This is the moment of truth. This is what I've been waiting for the whole lecture, which is to play a blues. We're gonna play the melody with our right hand and the chords with our left hand. Let's unpack. I want to share with you that after I created that melodic rhythm, when it came time to adding melodic tones, I used a very simple formula, and I want to share that with you. The formula is this. I looked to the given chord, C7, and I said, gosh, there's a C there, there's an E there, there's a G there, there's a B flat there. I could make a melody out of any of those notes, or a combination of those notes. And so you'll find in the very first measure, if you take a look at it, the melody is this. G to C. I hope you'll play that. Super easy to play. G, C. But I didn't just arbitrarily take those notes out of the ether. I didn't even take them from a scale. I could have taken them from a C scale, but I took them from the chord. This is the crux of every tone in this blues. They are chord tones. A G, which I found here, a C, which I found here. Notice in the second measure, it is G, B flat. Same thing. I found a G and a B flat right down here. And notice in the third measure, the blues continues on. G, G, E, C. And it's taken right from that chord structure. So I'll play the first 4 measures nice and slow so that you can hear and really appreciate that if you're playing a C7 just here, we're extrapolating, we're using those 4 tones, C, E, G, and B flat, to create a melody, So here it is, very slow. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3. 2, 3, 4. And notice those syllables that we were singing, do dot, do dot, do da, do dot. That helps me to play the articulations as they should be played, so that the end result is not this robotic end result. It's a very vibrant, jazzy, bluesy sort of sound. It's such a marvelous thing. I'll play the first 4 bars one more time. 1, 2, real slow. Do dot, a 3, 4. Do dot, a 3, 4. Do da, do dot, 2, 3, 4. There's something else that's going on here that I want to share with you, and I know you're experiencing it if you're playing along here, and that is developing coordination. How can I play this independent rhythm while my left hand is still that sort of stalwart, dependable, on the downbeat type of guy? I'm just going to play those whole notes as they're supposed to be. So it's wonderful, even at this sort of basic level, to develop that independence of hands. Left hand doing something different than the right hand. The second 4 bars, please. This is F7 for 2 measures, C7 for 2 measures. So I'm moving my left hand to F7. Notice the melody has changed. So instead of do dot, it's now do dot, A to C. The A and the C from the melody, I just took them from down here in the left hand. And then this A to E flat, same thing. I took them from down here. When my hand returns to C7 for measures 7 and 8, excuse me, I'm going to go back to so that the melodic tones correlate to the chord of the moment. Here's the second 4 bars of the blues, measures 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm on F7, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do dot, 3, 4. Do dot, 3, 4. Do dot, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Onward, the last 4 bars, G7. Right hand, surprise, there's a G, there's a B in that measure, B natural, there's a D in that measure, and there's a G in the next measure. When the chord goes back to C7, my melody is right from there. So let's add that rhythm. We already have that rhythm in our ear, the melodic rhythm. Do dot, do dot, dot, da, dee, boo, do, dot. This is right where it's from. Here we go. This is the G7 under tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do dot 2, 3. Do dot 1, 2 dot and da do ba do dot 2, 3, 4. I tied the G7s. Forgive me. Let me do that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do dot 2, 3. Do dot dot da do be do dot 2, 3, 4. Okay. One quick thing is to see if we can play that at 108, and then the moment of truth after that to play it with the play along. Ah, I love it. We'll have this experience of playing in a jazz trio, piano, bass, and drums. Excuse me, 108. So just slightly faster than where we were. Okay, and play along with me, or you can watch and then pause the video and do this on your own. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Do dot, do dot, do dot, do up, do up, do dot. Da do be do what? Let's do it one more time. And do that, do that, do da, do that, do what? Do that, do da, do that, do that, do that, da, da, do be do that. So there it is. And I must say, I don't consider myself much of a singer, but I feel like singing, intoning what we're doing is super, super, super important, and is a vital part of this process of internalizing what we're doing. It's really a wonderful thing to do. So you can obviously hear that I don't sound like Frank Sinatra or any other trained singer, but I'm intoning what I'm playing. And that really helps me to feel super connected with what I'm doing harmonically and especially melodically. So I'll challenge you to pause the video here, practice that with the metronome. When you're ready, turn that play along on and play with a bass player and a drummer to really feel this experience of what it means to play in a trio. And I'm going to share that with you right now. So this is really exciting. I'm going to bring a bit of closure here to this first lecture, this first lesson in this series, getting started with the blues. I have had a ball, and I hope you've had a fun time too. And it's been really fun to sort of unpack and just start from scratch, start at the beginning, and start to have this, for me, a reappreciation of the form of what the blues is on a macro level, the 12 bars, on a micro level, the 3 iterations of 4 bars each. The examination of those phrases being A, A, B, of creating chords, dominant chords. They're so delicious, the strategies for creating them, for using them when we have a melody, for even before playing the melody, creating a melodic rhythm, and then adding note heads to that based on the notes that are in the chord itself. I hope you rewatch this video and allow all of these things to sort of come into your life as a player. And I'm going to send you off with a challenge here, and I hope that you'll take this challenge. This is attachment 1.5, exercise 1.5, and it's entitled Writing Your Own Blues. Now, it's entirely possible that you've written a song before, written a blues before, don't know. But maybe you've never taken this approach, and here's the approach, where just like I did with CT's blues, I'm writing a melodic rhythm first. I want to find some rhythms that really swing. I want to use these elements of syncopation to make it sound organic and wonderful. And so I've provided a rhythmic sheet for you. If you look at the top of the page, this is the rendering of a melodic rhythm for the 12 bars. It's in that stereotypical AAB form. Let's learn that together, and then I'll talk about the bottom part of the sheet, which is my challenge to you. So back to the metronome. I have it set to 108. Turn that guy on. I'm using those 3 articulations. Let's see, do is the tenuto, dot is the jazz staccato, and da is the accent. And I'm going to use those to bring this rhythm alive. I'm just using my little 2-finger tap or clap here. And here is how the melodic rhythm sounds. 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. Dot, 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 2, 3, 4. Da, dot. Same thing on the next line. Dot, dot, dot. A 2, 3, 4. Da, 2, 3, 4. Dot. Bottom line, the B. Do, dot, da, dot, and 1. Da. So really fun, really fun. Will you try that with me? Let's own this rhythm together, this melodic rhythm together. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, and dot, dot, dot. A 2, 3, 4. Da, dot. A 2, 3, 4. Dot, dot, dot. A 2, 3, 4. Da, dot. The B, and do, dot, da, dot, and 1. Da. Awesome. You know, a few minutes ago I had mentioned the element of syncopation, or the term syncopation, and I love that Harvard Dictionary definition, you know, the deliberate disturbance of what we perceive as normal. And in this one, I deliberately, especially at the very end, the measures 11 and 12, I started that last rhythm on beat 2. There was nothing prior to that started on beat 2, or at least a long tone that started on beat 2. You can find an example in measure 9. But that, to me, even though it's on a downbeat, feels syncopated, you know, a deliberate disturbance of something that was very downbeat oriented. Forgive me, this is the only example of something that starts on beat 2. That's exactly right. In measure 9, I misspoke. That's 1 and 3 and. So it's 1, 2 in measure 11. And it gives us that great sense of syncopation. Here's my final thoughts and my challenge to you. Look at the bottom of the page. They're blank staves, and above that top staff, I've written in kind of microfiche, these little grace notes, these tiny little notes. I've written that melodic rhythm. It's there for you to use the same stems and beams and rests and all that sort of stuff. All you have to do is take the chord that's in the left hand and use one or two or three of those tones, or all four of those tones, but abide by the given rhythm. And if you've never written anything before, this is the perfect time to start. Print this out, get a pencil, try it. It's not rocket science. Just copy those shapes, copy those stems, copy those beams or flags or rests or whatever, and write your own melody, write your own blues. I even put a space where you can write your own title for a blues. I wonder what you'll call it. And when you're finished writing it and playing it, I hope you'll use the play along so that you can actually have this experience of playing in like a jazz trio, piano, bass, and drums. It's a great deal of fun. I have more to share with you. I hope that you had a wonderful ride here in this first lesson, this first lecture on getting started with the blues. And gosh, I can't wait to share more with you soon.